Hello there. Today I'm going to talk about skin fixes in Lightroom, and I'm prompted by a recent conversation I had on Facebook with a photographer who said my work wasn't good because I wasn't doing the skin fixes right. And that was prompted by an advert for a skin fix product that a lot of photographers use, which shall remain nameless, but it's for portrait professionals. Um, and I'm against making people look like something they're not. I really don't like making someone look like a piece of plastic, like a surgically altered Donatella, whatever her name is. I think people are great the way they are. But that said, of course, there are things that you do want to fix or at least lighten. And really they come in two flavors for me. One is fix temporary blemishes, and the second one is de-emphasize permanent blemishes and wrinkles and so on. So I'm going to use myself as an example. You see in front of you here a picture of myself, and I'm going to show you some of the strategies and tools we have available in Lightroom so that we don't need to use external tools or go to Photoshop. So the first and most obvious tool is the healing tool, of course. That's why we have it. So let's look at the healing brush, right? We have the healing brush on the right in the develop module. It's called spot removal, and it really comes in two flavors, healing and cloning. Cloning is copying. So if I clone, for instance, I don't know, an area on my forehead and I clone it from the eye, I get an exact identical eye in my forehead, which looks extremely creepy. So let's quickly remove that. That's cloning. If I use the healing brush, and I usually use the healing brush, then I get a combination of things. So for instance, if I do this, the eye still exists, but now the outsides are a lot less harsh. So this is even more creepy. It's more natural, more creepy. I can feather it, and I could do all sorts of other things. Let's remove that too, because it really does look creepy, and let's tell you what I would really do. So in this face, for example, I see some temporary blemishes. I would start by removing those. They can be removed because they're gone the next day anyway, so who cares? So I'm going to set my size using the mouse button to whatever I need to cover the blemish, and I can just click, and if I click I get a circle, and the circle samples from somewhere appropriate, and it usually gets that right. So I find any sort of temporary blemish that I see, anything temporary that I want to fix, and I can fix it this way. If I don't like where it samples from, I can manually resample from somewhere else. So if, for instance, let's say in this case I click on this blemish, and let's say if Lightroom had samples from here, that would be wrong. I could just pick up this circle and move it to a similar area to where I am, but without the blemish, and let go, and that's it. So that's one. Secondly, here's another one. Here, this sequence of a couple of blemishes, not a circle, but I'm drawing a line now, and it tries to sample that line from somewhere where it's the same, and it does a really good job. The math is just incredible. It usually gets it right. Here's another one, and I see one here and one here. I'll just draw a line like this, and it'll grab from somewhere. If I don't like where it grabs from, I just redo it again. So any temporary blemish I can fix like this. That's already better. If I look at the YY, you will see that my chin there is a little bit better looking in the fixed picture. And it's still me because those blemishes are gone by now anyway. Let's do the next thing. Next, I de-emphasize certain things. So let me go to a, let's say, maybe perhaps 1 to 2 screen so you can see what I'm doing properly. And let's look at the under eyes here. I don't like that shadow. I'm not going to remove it because it's me, but I do want to lessen it a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll draw an area here. And so initially what Lightroom does is it tries to sample from somewhere. Well, as you see, it gets it wrong, so I would resample from somewhere more appropriate. Perhaps he would do, but I don't want to do that because I'm not going to remove. What I'm going to do on the right in the tool settings is go to opacity and select an opacity of 50%. If I look at that now and I click on done, that looks a lot better. It's still me, you still see the wrinkle, but it's less obvious. I could do the same on this side, and I'll leave the tool set to 50%, so it's going to stay like that until I change. Now these folds in my skin here, I don't want to remove them quite as much, so I'm going to go to about 30% opacity, 29-30%, and I'll do the same for the one on the right, 29 or 30% as well. And again, I sample, I help Lightroom a little bit. And so it's still me, it's still not plastic, but it's still looking better. It's still looking more and more like the actual me. That is to say, the actual me that I have in my mind. Let's have another look at the forehead. I'm going to remove permanently that temporary blemish there. And this one is so small I don't have to worry about it much. So, you know, a little bit of removal like that is a good thing. I can remove the odd wayward hair. You see that hair here on my in my eyebrow. I don't like that hair, so I'm going to draw over it and then sample from somewhere appropriate, and sure enough it's gone. As you can see, that looks a lot better. So that's one thing. You have the healing brush, and the healing brush, with or without the opacity set to a setting of less than 100, is a very powerful tool. Its automatic math is incredible. It usually gets it right, and when it doesn't, you can resample using the slash key or just manually grab from a more appropriate area. Here, these two I'm going to make 30%. These little folds here, these little wrinkles. And now I look like my true age of 25. So that's one. There are other tools. There is, for example, the clarity tool, either overall, the entire picture, or in certain areas. Look at clarity. It's in the develop module, and if I drag clarity all the way to minus, you will see a very artificial picture. If I go all the way to plus, this is what you do with the people you don't like. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go slightly to minus, maybe minus 20, something like that. Minus 20. I look ever so slightly better, as you see, but we don't know why. It's not obvious. We haven't obviously photoshopped me. We haven't obviously made me look like something I'm not. I can also do that on a localized basis. I can use this brush here, and this brush, the localized adjustment brush, with the letter O, or with show selected mask overlay clicked, I can draw where I'm going to do something. So I can say, for example, under my chin I'm going to do something, and once I've drawn where I'm going to do it, in other words, I set the mask, I can now decide what I'm going to do. So for instance, in this mask, instead of the clarity we have, I'm going to drag clarity down halfway. Click, and as you see, that makes those wrinkles a little bit less emphasized. So we're getting better and better, more and more like the movie star me. There are even more tools, of course. You can do an overall as well as a local clarity. You can work on things like vibrance and saturation, but especially on the color red. If I look at the color red, skin blemishes are often red. So if I go to HSL, hue, saturation, luminance, and I go to the luminance of red, if I drag that down, you will see where the problems are. Other than the lips that look unnaturally strange, you can see where the skin problems are. This is a very good idea because it helps you find out where the problems are so you can fix them. Or, alternatively, you can just drag red up a little bit, ever so slightly. The same is true of orange. Yeah, if I drag orange to the left, also that shows me where the problems are. I look very unnatural now. And therefore, dragging orange slightly to the right makes me look better. The brighter you make skin look, the more flawless it looks. Clearly, wrinkles and so on are dark wrinkles. If they're not dark, you don't see them, or you don't see them as much. So those are some of the options I have available. I urge you to try those. You can try with localized sharpening of everything except the face, for example. I would urge you, and this is a matter of taste, of course, so I can't tell you what to do here, but I would urge you to not go crazy. We really don't want to make people into something they're not. We want to show that people look great the way they are. But that said, ever so slightly changing. Doing what you can do with light by lighting brightly, doing what you can do with makeup perhaps, especially in the case of women, but also doing what you can do with these tools I've shown you. I would say use them, but use them wisely. If I have to do a really total overhaul of someone's face, I can do that. I'm just not a very big fan, and that was yesterday's discussion. The other photographer disagreed with me and said women don't come to me unless I make them look like something plastic. Well, I think those women perhaps are not my market. Alright, go crazy. Try to do everything in Lightroom. I have not started up Photoshop for the last 6 months, so I can do everything I need in Lightroom. This was Michael Willems, and I'll see you on www.speedlighter.ca or on the eStore at http://learning.photography. Thanks, and talk to you soon.